What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about a question I get often is, am I too old to use my VA home loan? Welcome to the channel and welcome to the video. So my name is David Piatek and I have Lourdes Fernando with me. Today we're going to be talking about this subject because a lot of older veterans are like, hey, I'm 78. Am I even going to be able to get a VA loan? Because I may not make it 30 years, right? So keeping it positive, but that is something that we get often. Lourdes, what's your experience with that and some of the misconceptions around that concept?
Yeah, so I do get, I've had a few older clients and that's their fear. One, am I going to be able to maintain this home? Am I, what's going to happen? Can I pass it down to my children? So I definitely wanted to talk about this topic.
That's awesome. And yeah, so just a couple of things that go with that. So one, there's a big misconception that you can only use the VA home loan once, like once and done. So that is not true. Second, there is no time limit on using your VA home loan. So unlike some other benefits, this pertains partial to some of your GI benefits or school benefits that, like, oh, you get out of the service after 10 years, you can't use your benefits anymore. This is not the case with VA home loans. It is a life benefit. You could be 99 years old, okay, and use the VA home loan. And lawyers, we have a lot of people that use the VA home loan for the first time or even become homeowners for the first time because they watch videos like this on the
Yeah.
channel. And they're like, wait a second, I'm 78. I can use my VA home loan. I can actually purchase a property. So that is a very positive piece of that. Now, you mentioned something that is something that we get a lot of is that, hey, if something happens to me, what happens with my VA home loan? Okay. So a couple things. If you're married and you pass away from a service connected disability or you're on active duty, then that benefit passes on to your spouse, right? So we've helped actually a lot of surviving spouses be able to utilize the VA home loan, even when their husbands didn't, or like their significant other did not use that benefit. And if you had a VA disability rating or for the veteran that would qualify them for the property tax exemption, then you have to look into your state and county what the requirements are, what that would look like. And so a lot of people, look at condos. And what's your experience, Lourdes, with veterans being able to use their benefit for a condo, which for a lot of folks is easier maintenance?
Yeah, so that's typically we do see a lot of individuals, especially as they get older, veterans go in from a single family home and they say, "Hey, there's too many stairs, there's too much maintenance. I'm tired of shoveling snow." So
Get up
they
north.
like to downsize and they do look for smaller condos, less
Yeah.
cleaning, less maintenance, and they say this is going to be it for me. And they pay their monthly HOAs, because with condos you do have to pay the HOAs, and that goes towards someone else to pay for the lawn care, the
Yes.
roof, and all the maintenance of the property. So that is something that we do see often, or even going into a senior development, 55 or 65 and older, 55
It's
and older.
50,
I think
yeah, a
it's
lot of
55.
them 55 plus. Yeah.
55 plus, I guess it's 50. Yeah, it's 55. But they go into those type of communities so that, they can be around others and they don't have to deal with all the rest of the nonsense.
Loud music and late parties. All right. So, with that, actually, good point. So, not about the party part, but one thing that veterans get discouraged from when using their VA home loan to buy a condo is the misconception that it's a nightmare to get that process done. Now, if you guys subscribe to the channel, you'll see that I have a ton of videos around this, right? And we have one for a general VA condo approval, and we also have one for Florida. A lot of veterans miss that opportunity because agents will tell them too hard. The truth of it is, it's not really hard. It's actually pretty easy. Time frame could be from 24 hours up to about 30 days in certain markets, but there's ways to expedite that process. And even if a condo gets denied for VA approval, you can still submit a waiver. And people rely too heavily on the VA approving the condo. And I'll tell you, it's a little secret here. They really don't look at much, right? They look at two things primarily. Primary two things. So one is no leasing restrictions, where like, hey, you can't really, if you can't lease your property, that's a negative for the VA. Now, if you have no short-term rentals or 12 months or greater leases, that's okay as a restriction. And the other one is the right of first refusal, where the condo could step in and purchase your unit if you're selling it at terms offered to somebody else, right? So, and a lot of condos have that, and veterans were steered away. And then another thing is you can use your VA benefits to purchase a condo in a 55 plus community, right? So that's another big misconception. And I would say some of the biggest state misconceptions, to my personal experience, has been Florida, where they're like, every time we talk to agents, they're like, absolutely not. This condo cannot be VA approved and we won't even accept it. And I'm like, so you did a disservice to your seller. And then for the veteran that wants to buy, you did a disservice to them because they wanted to live in this property. And again, this passes on to surviving spouses.
Mhm.
And as we enter the winter market, where a lot of people are like, "Hey, you know what? I didn't even realize that I can use my VA loan again or have another VA loan." Right. So that's another big misconception that we've come across, Lourdes, is that people will be like, well, I would have used my VA home loan. I can't use it again. I'm like, yes, you can. You can have multiple VA home loans. So even if you have a home, you paid it off, you use your VA loan, you can still then purchase another property as long as it's your primary residence, right? So that means six months and 1 day. So these little, day more than half the year, you can use that. I don't know if you've run into folks that didn't realize they can use the VA loan multiple times.
Yeah, so a few things that you said. A lot of people don't know that they can use their VA home loan to purchase in 55 plus communities. They think that it's separate, but no, you definitely can do that. And then as well as condos, that we've helped so many veterans, not just senior veterans, but any veterans in general, you know, demystify that, that myth that you cannot, if it's not approved, then I can't be in this. And even some other lenders, David, have told me, you know, we can't do that because the building is not approved. I said, well, I know a lender that can. Either you approve it or we're going to go to a different lender, because it's a disservice, like you said, to our veterans, that want to be in a certain place and they're told that they can't, or they have to go a conventional route, meaning they have to put a down payment and save their VA loan benefits because
Yes,
it's going to expire.
I
Type of
know.
thing. And it doesn't, so it's just, when I talk to veterans on a day to day, educating them, letting them know that this is a benefit that they earned. Of course, we have to make sure that they do have their certificate of eligibility and they do qualify for the VA loan, because not all veterans do qualify for that. But just making sure that they meet the requirements, and servicing them the way that they want, whatever is going to make their, if they are getting older, they want something low maintenance, that they're actually going into something that will service them.
No, that's a great point with that. And I'll tell you that when veterans don't use the VA loan, no, yeah, everyone's situation is different, right? And I am a huge fan of the VA home loan, but you know what? There are times where it doesn't make sense to use the benefit because of your situation, your down payment, you're doing a construction loan, you own land. There's so many different variables that get factored into that. But if you're buying your primary residence where you're like, hey, I'm really not looking to use this as an investment vehicle, which we have a whole series, investor series on your VA home loan, then it's very expensive to refinance out of let's say a conventional loan into a VA loan. And in some states, you have to pay transfer taxes again, high title fees. So, I did a video on that where on average across the country to refinance back into a VA loan, it's about $20,200 in costs, right? That's not including additional closing costs you may have. So those are big important factors for you guys to understand in that process. Now, if you're interested in using your VA home loan, I am a loan officer. You can schedule a call with me down below in the description. And if you guys are looking for some help from the real estate side, that's where Lourdes comes in. So if you guys schedule a call, I'll connect you guys, and at least you guys could talk through that process. And the nice part about how we run our business is that we're very transparent, right? I talk about should you do something, should you not? We'll look at the numbers and advise you like this makes sense or it doesn't. Review all your finances. And the last thing I want to touch on, Lourdes, because I know we're limited on time today, is can you, and you had a good question in the beginning, right? Can I transfer my VA loan to somebody else? So one thing that I did answer was, yes, if you pass away from a service-connected disability, it's stated on your death certificate. And one way to for sure know you can get it is if you receive indemnity compensation. Now, check out the channel. There's a whole form I did a video on that you have to fill out the first time you're requesting your spousal VA home loan certificate. Okay. Now, this next part, my full disclaimer is I'm not an attorney, okay? But I know that, and I'm doing it myself. So, my personal touch to that is that you can put a VA loan in a trust, okay? So you can't buy it in a trust, but you can transfer it, right? And still get your tax breaks and benefits, but you have to contact your county, state, contact a state attorney and have them walk you through it. Don't just do it online because it's a bit more complicated than you think. So I thought it was really easy until last week when I had a meeting with the attorney, and I'm like, nah, it's a bit more complicated. But then what can happen from my personal take, like I'm setting it up, is that if something happens to you, then the bank can't just step in and foreclose on it as long as the payments are being made on time. You can't transfer, let's say, the benefit to your children per se of like, hey, here's my VA loan, go use it as you want to go buy homes, but it protects the home that you live in, right? So it's an important factor into this. So you have a lot of options. Make sure you guys explore them. Reach out to us. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel, and then we'll catch you guys on the next video.